I'm Belva, 34, and a single mother to 8-year-old twins, Lily and Logan. 3 years after my divorce from Mark, I never expected my parents to break my children's hearts. The call came on Sunday afternoon. "Come get the kids early. We need their room for Heather's baby." Arriving to find my children's suitcases by the door, I overheard my mother call my sister's newborn their golden grandchild, as my twins fought back tears. If you're watching this, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Hit that like button and subscribe if you've ever had to protect someone you love from family hurt. The next part of this story might surprise you as much as it surprised my parents. The favoritism in my family wasn't something that started suddenly. Looking back, I can trace it throughout my entire childhood, in our middle-class home in Portland, Oregon. My parents, George and Martha Wilson, never tried particularly hard to hide their preference for my younger sister, Heather, who came along when I was 4 years old. As a child, I noticed the little things first. Heather's birthday parties were always more elaborate, with professionally decorated cakes and hired entertainment. Mine were simple affairs with homemade decorations and games my mother organized with visible reluctance. Christmas mornings revealed the disparity even more clearly. Heather's pile of gifts towering over my modest few. When I was 9, I received a set of colored pencils, while Heather got the elaborate dollhouse I had been hinting about for months. "Heather's more sensitive," my mother would explain when I questioned these differences. "She needs more encouragement." School events were another battlefield of attention. My parents attended every one of Heather's performances, soccer games, and award ceremonies. For me, their presence was sporadic at best. When I earned straight A's in 7th grade, my father nodded and said, "That's nice." When Heather brought home a single A- among B's, they took her out for a celebratory dinner. I learned early to be self-sufficient. By 12, I was packing my own lunches, helping with household chores without being asked, and finding rides to extracurricular activities since my parents were usually busy with Heather's schedule. This independence served me well later in life, though it came from a place of necessity rather than choice. College decisions highlighted the disparity even further. My parents questioned my choice to pursue nursing, suggesting something less demanding might suit me better. Meanwhile, they enthusiastically supported Heather's business degree, paying her full tuition, while I cobbled together scholarships, loans, and part-time jobs to fund my education. Despite everything, I excelled in nursing school and fell in love with pediatric care. There was something healing about providing children with the attention and care I had often lacked myself. During my clinical rotations, I met Mark, a pharmaceutical sales representative, who visited the hospital regularly. His easygoing nature and genuine interest in my work were refreshing after years of feeling overlooked. We married when I was 22, perhaps too young, but eager to start the family I had always dreamed of having. Mark and I agreed we wanted children right away, but conception proved more challenging than expected. After 4 years of trying, including 2 early miscarriages that left me heartbroken, I finally became pregnant with twins, a boy and a girl. The pregnancy was difficult with 3 months of bed rest, but at 26 I gave birth to Logan and Lily. My parents initially seemed excited about their first grandchildren. They visited the hospital, brought gifts, and my mother even stayed with us for a week after we brought the babies home. But their interest waned quickly. Visits became less frequent, calls shorter, and less enthusiastic. When the twins had their first birthday, my parents stayed only an hour at the party, explaining they had to prepare for a cruise they were taking the following week. As the years passed, Heather flourished in her finance career, climbing the corporate ladder with impressive speed. My parents proudly shared her accomplishments with friends, neighbors, extended family, anyone who would listen. "Our Heather just made vice president," they would announce, beaming. My work as a pediatric nurse helping children through illness and pain rarely warranted mention. When Mark and I divorced after 5 years of increasing distance and disagreements, my parents' response was telling. "Well," my mother said, "we always thought you rushed into marriage." There was no offer of emotional support, no practical help with the twins, who were 5 at the time. Heather, meanwhile, received their full attention during her own divorce a year later, including extended stays at their home and financial assistance. Despite everything, I wanted my children to have a relationship with their grandparents. The twins were innocent in this dynamic, and I believed they deserved to know their family. I arranged regular visits, encouraged phone calls, and made sure birthday and holiday gifts were accompanied by handmade cards from Logan and Lily. I never spoke negatively about my parents in front of the children, swallowing my hurt for their sake. 2 years ago, we established a routine where the twins would stay with my parents every other weekend. This gave me some much-needed time to work extra shifts, catch up on household tasks, or occasionally meet friends for adult conversation. More importantly, I thought it gave Logan and Lily a chance to bond with their grandparents. The arrangement seemed to be working reasonably well. The twins would return with stories of my father teaching Logan to play chess, or my mother helping Lily bake cookies. They weren't showered with affection or special attention, but they enjoyed the change of scenery and the small traditions they were building. I noticed they rarely mentioned Heather in their weekend recaps, though I knew she visited my parents frequently. When Heather announced her pregnancy last year, my parents' excitement was palpable. At family gatherings, they spoke of little else, asking Heather endless questions about her prenatal appointments, while showing minimal interest in Logan's recent science fair victory, or Lily's lead role in the school play. I recognized the pattern repeating, but told myself things would be different once the baby arrived. Surely there was room in their hearts for all three grandchildren. I was wrong. As Heather's due date approached, my parents began renovating their guest room into a nursery. For when Heather needs breaks, my mother explained, new mothers need so much support. The irony of this statement, given the minimal support I'd received with newborn twins, wasn't lost on me, but I said nothing. When Heather gave birth to Olivia, my parents were at the hospital before the delivery was even complete. They canceled a planned weekend with the twins, leaving me to explain to two disappointed 8-year-olds why their grandparents wouldn't be picking them up as promised. "They're meeting your new cousin," I said gently, trying to infuse some excitement into the situation. "We can FaceTime them at the hospital if you'd like." "Will they love the baby more than us?" Lily asked with unsettling perception. "Grandparents have room in their hearts for all their grandchildren," I replied, the platitude tasting bitter on my tongue. For the next 2 months, the twins' weekend visits continued, but the dynamic had shifted. My parents seemed distracted, often cutting the visits short, or asking me to pick the children up earlier than planned. Logan and Lily would return home quieter than usual, sharing fewer stories about their time at Grandma and Grandpa's house. I should have seen what was coming, but somehow I still wasn't prepared for the call that would change everything. The call came on a Sunday afternoon in March. I was folding laundry and planning the week ahead when my phone lit up with my mother's name. "Belva, you need to come get the children now," she said without preamble. "Not at 5 like we planned, now." "Is everything okay?" I asked, immediately concerned. "Are the kids all right?" "They're fine," she replied briskly. "But Heather's coming over with Olivia. The baby has colic and Heather needs help. We need the twins' room." I gripped the phone tighter. "It's only 2 o'clock. We agreed on 5. "Plans change," my mother said with an impatience I recognized from childhood. "Heather needs us right now." As I drove the 20 minutes to my parents' suburban home, I rehearsed what I would say. I wanted to be calm but firm. This wasn't about me or my feelings. It was about my children and the message being sent to them. They deserved better than to be treated as an inconvenience, shuffled aside whenever something more important came along. I pulled into the familiar driveway, noting with a sinking heart that the twin suitcases were already packed and waiting by the front door. Before I could even ring the doorbell, my father opened the door looking uncomfortable but determined. "They're just finishing lunch," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Your mother thought it would be best if they ate before you arrived." Inside, I found Logan and Lily at the kitchen table picking at sandwiches, while my mother bustled around cleaning up with unusual thoroughness. The twins looked up when I entered, and the confusion and hurt in their eyes made my heart clench. "Mom," Logan questioned, "we were going to play chess with Grandpa this afternoon. He promised." "We have to go home early today, sweetie," I explained, trying to keep my voice light. "Something came up." "Heather's bringing the baby over," my mother interjected. "She's having a rough time and Olivia needs special attention right now. The twins' room will be better for her than the sofa." "We could stay in the living room," Lily suggested hopefully. "We wouldn't be in the way." My mother shook her head. "A newborn needs quiet, Lily, and more attention than older children. You understand, don't you?" "We're quiet," Logan protested softly, his eyes downcast. "The room is just better suited for Olivia," my father explained, putting a hand on Logan's shoulder. She's very small and needs special accommodations. As the twins gathered their belongings, I heard my mother mutter to my father, "It's not like they're babies anymore. The golden grandchild needs us more right now." I saw Logan's shoulders stiffen. Lily's eyes filled with tears. She bravely tried to blink away. They had heard. Of course they had heard. The drive home was unusually silent. Normally, the twins would chatter about their weekend activities, the movies they watched with their grandparents, the special treats they enjoyed. Today, they stared out the windows, lost in their own thoughts. Finally, in a small voice, Lily asked the question that broke my heart. "Why doesn't Grandma and Grandpa love us anymore?" I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "They do love you, sweetie. They're not very good at showing it sometimes." "They called Olivia their golden grandchild," Logan said flatly. "I heard Grandma say it." I took a deep breath. Some people play favorites even when they shouldn't. It's not fair. And it's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's their problem, not yours. "But why?" Lily persisted. "What did we do wrong?" "Nothing," I said firmly, catching her eye in the rearview mirror. "You did absolutely nothing wrong. You are both amazing, kind, smart, wonderful children. Anyone would be lucky to have you in their lives." Logan remained silent, staring out the window. This was unusual for my typically talkative son, and it worried me more than Lily's questions. His silence spoke volumes about the depth of his hurt. That evening, I tried to create a sense of normalcy. We made homemade pizza, played board games, and watched a movie together. The twins gradually relaxed, laughing at the film and arguing good-naturedly over the last slice of pizza. But as bedtime approached, the shadow returned. "Do we have to go to Grandma and Grandpa's next weekend?" Logan asked as I tucked him in. "We'll talk about that tomorrow," I hedged, not wanting to make decisions while emotions were still raw. "Get some sleep, buddy. I love you more than all the stars in the sky." "Love you too, Mom," he mumbled, turning to face the wall. In Lily's room, my daughter was more direct. "I don't want to go back," she whispered as I braided her hair for the night. "It doesn't feel good there anymore." I kissed the top of her head. "I understand, sweetheart. We'll figure it out together, okay?" After the children were asleep, I sat alone in the kitchen, a cup of tea growing cold before me. The day's events played on repeat in my mind. The packed suitcases by the door, my mother's dismissive tone, the twins' wounded expressions, the phrase golden grandchild that had cut so deeply. I hadn't slept much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my children's hurt faces or remembered similar moments from my own childhood. The time my parents forgot to come to my high school graduation because Heather had a dance recital. The Christmas my handmade gift was set aside with barely a glance, while Heather's store-bought card was read aloud and displayed prominently. The countless times I was told to be more understanding, more patient, more willing to compromise. Always me, never Heather. I was allowing history to repeat itself, and my children were paying the price. By morning, I had made my decision. I wouldn't force the twins to continue visiting my parents' home where they felt unwanted and less than. I wouldn't perpetuate the cycle of favoritism and hurt that had shaped my own childhood. I would break the pattern here and now. When Logan and Lily came down for breakfast, still subdued and uncertain, I broached the subject gently. "I want to talk about yesterday." I began setting plates of French toast before them. "About what happened at Grandma and Grandpa's house." "Are we in trouble?" Lily asked immediately. "Not at all," I assured her. "I want to know how you feel about visiting them." The twins exchanged glances, a silent communication that had fascinated me since their infancy. "I don't want to go anymore," Logan said finally, his voice stronger than it had been the previous day. "They don't really want us there." Lily nodded in agreement. "They like Olivia better? She's their golden grandchild." The hurt in her voice as she repeated the phrase made my heart ache. "Are we not good enough for them?" Lily asked the question, hanging heavy in our sunny kitchen. Logan pushed his plate away, his appetite gone. "They don't want us there anymore." I reached across the table and took one of each of their hands in mine. "Listen to me, both of you. You are more than good enough. You are extraordinary. Anyone who doesn't see that is missing out on two of the most amazing people I know." "But their family," Lily pointed out with the straightforward logic of an 8-year-old. Aren't families supposed to love each other the same? Ideally, yes. I agreed. But sometimes people don't live up to what they're supposed to do. And when that happens, we need to protect ourselves and each other. So we don't have to go back, Logan asked hopefully. Not if you don't want to, I confirmed. And not until things change. After the twins left for school, I called my best friend Alyssa, a fellow single mother I'd known since college. She listened as I recounted the previous day's events, her outrage building with each detail. Those entitled, self-centered, I can't even find words, she fumed. How dare they treat your kids that way? I'm not surprised, I admitted. Disappointed, but not surprised. It's how they've always been. So what are you going to do? Alyssa asked. I'm not sending the twins back there to feel unwanted, I said firmly. But I don't want them to feel like they're missing out either. They're already dealing with the aftermath of the divorce. They don't need to lose their grandparents too, at least not in their minds. What if you created new traditions? Alyssa suggested. Special things that are just for you and the kids, maybe even better than what they did with your parents. Show them they're not missing anything because they're gaining something better. Her words sparked something in me. Not just anger or protection, but inspiration. I'd spent my childhood accepting scraps of attention and telling myself it was enough. I'd spent the last 3 years trying to ensure my children had a relationship with grandparents who clearly didn't value them as they deserved. Perhaps it was time for a different approach. I'm going to do exactly that, I decided. Something special, something that shows them just how important and loved they are. As soon as we hung up, I began planning. This wouldn't be a small gesture or a temporary distraction. This would be the beginning of something new for our little family, something that would heal wounds and build stronger foundations. I was done waiting for my parents to change. It was time to change our story ourselves. The decision to take action unleashed a wave of energy I hadn't felt in years. I called Maria, my nursing supervisor, and explained the situation, requesting emergency time off for the upcoming weekend. Take Friday too, Maria said after hearing my story. My grandmother played favorites with us grandkids. I was the golden one, and it still makes family gatherings awkward with my cousins. Break that cycle, Belva. Your kids deserve better. With 4 days now available, I began researching local attractions activities and possible weekend destinations that would appeal to both Lily's artistic nature and Logan's adventurous spirit. I wanted this to be meaningful, not just a distraction from hurt feelings. I consulted Dr. Jennifer Klein, a child psychologist friend who had helped the twins navigate the divorce. What you're describing is a form of emotional neglect, she explained during our phone call. Children internalize rejection, especially from family members, as a reflection of their own worth. How do I counter that? I asked, taking notes as we spoke. Create a narrative that puts the issue where it belongs, with the adults, not the children. Then provide consistent, unconditional positive experiences that reinforce their value. And most importantly, give them some agency in the situation. Let them help decide what new traditions to establish. I reached out to Mark explaining what had happened and my plans for the weekend. Though our divorce had been difficult, we'd worked hard to maintain a civil co-parenting relationship for the twins' sake. That's awful, he said, genuine anger in his voice. Mom and Dad Wilson always did play favorites, but I never thought they'd be so obvious about it with the kids. Mark had always been more perceptive about my parents' behavior than I gave him credit for. I want to do something special for them this weekend, I explained. Something that helps them see they're not missing out by not being at my parents' house. Count me in, Mark said without hesitation. What can I do to help? His offer surprised me. Since the divorce, Mark had been reliable with scheduled visitations and child support, but rarely suggested additional time with the twins. Really, you want to be involved? They're my kids too, Belva, and nobody gets to make them feel like they're not important. There was a protective edge to his voice that reminded me of the Mark I'd fallen in love with years ago. After calling the twins' teachers for advice on building their confidence, I started a Pinterest board titled New Traditions and began collecting ideas. The project took on a life of its own as I envisioned activities, outings, and meaningful rituals that would become part of our family identity. My Aunt Susan, my mother's sister, who had always been more supportive than my parents, called after hearing about the incident from a cousin. I'm so sorry, Belva, she said, her voice warm with genuine concern. Martha has always been difficult. Even as children, she needed to be the center of attention. The twins are pretty hurt, I admitted. I'm trying to plan something special to help them process everything. Use my lake house, Susan offered immediately. It's just sitting empty until Memorial Day. The kids always loved it there, and it's far enough away to feel like a real getaway. I accepted gratefully, remembering the few wonderful vacations we'd spent at Susan's lakefront property in our early married years. The twins had been too young to remember those trips, but the peaceful setting and natural beauty would be perfect for our purpose. With the destination secured, I created a detailed itinerary balancing structured activities with free time. I ordered art supplies for Lily, fishing gear for Logan, and board games they both enjoyed. Susan arranged for the caretaker to stock the kitchen and prepare the house for our arrival. My financial calculations were sobering. This weekend would use most of my modest savings, but I considered it an investment in my children's emotional health. Some things were worth more than money in the bank. The night before our departure, I packed the car while the twins slept, tucking special surprises into their bags and loading coolers with their favorite snacks. Everything was prepared for the most important weekend of our new family journey. When Friday morning arrived, I woke before dawn to prepare a special breakfast. The smell of cinnamon rolls and bacon filled our small house as I arranged fruit into smiley faces on their plates, a tradition from their younger years that had gradually faded in the rush of daily life. At 7 o'clock, I woke the twins with gentle shoulder shakes. Rise and shine, sleepy heads, we've got a big day ahead. Logan rubbed his eyes, confused by the early hour. Is it a school day? I thought it was Friday. It is Friday, I confirmed. But we're not going to school today. We're going on an adventure. Lily sat up immediately, her sleepiness forgotten. What kind of adventure? A mystery trip, I announced with dramatic flair. Pack clothes for 3 days and bring your swimsuits. Their reactions were a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. After the events of the previous weekend, change felt threatening, even as it intrigued them. What about school? Logan asked, ever the responsible one. All taken care of, I assured him. Your teachers know you'll be out and they're sending work with us. But that's for Sunday evening, not today. Today is for fun. Is it because of what happened at Grandma and Grandpa's? Lily asked perceptively. Are we doing this instead of going there? I sat on the edge of her bed. Partly, yes. I didn't like how that made you feel, and I want us to start some new traditions of our own, special things that are just for us. Just the three of us, Logan clarified. Well, there might be a surprise or two along the way, I hinted. Now hurry up and get dressed. Breakfast is getting cold and we have a 3-hour drive ahead of us. As they scrambled to dress and pack, I sent a quick text to Susan confirming our departure and thanking her again for the use of the lake house. Her reply was immediate. Everything's ready. The kids have the blue room with the bunk beds. Mark called. He's bringing his fishing boat tomorrow morning. The drive to the lake house became an adventure in itself. We played travel games, sang along to their favorite songs, and stopped at quirky roadside attractions I'd researched the night before. The farther we got from home, the more the twins relaxed, their excitement building with each mile. Is that the lake? Lily gasped as we rounded a curve, and the sparkling water came into view, surrounded by pine trees and dotted with small boats. That's it, I confirmed, feeling a surge of gratitude for Susan's generosity. And see that house with the red roof? That's where we're staying. Susan was waiting on the wraparound porch as we pulled into the gravel driveway. Though she resembled my mother physically, the same height and build, similar features, her warm smile and open arms created an entirely different impression. There are my favorite grandniece and grandnephew, she called, hurrying down the steps to greet us. At 63, Susan moved with the energy of someone 20 years younger, scooping both twins into a hug at once. Aunt Susan, they chorused, their earlier reservations forgotten in her enthusiastic welcome. I have presents for you both inside, she told them, leading the way into the house. And wait until you see the rooms I've prepared. The lake house was even more beautiful than I remembered. Large windows overlooked the water, filling the open-concept living area with natural light. A stone fireplace dominated one wall, while comfortable furniture in blues and greens echoed the lake's colors. Susan had transformed the blue bedroom into a twin paradise. The bunk beds were made up with superhero sheets for Logan and butterfly patterns for Lily. A shelf held new books, selected for their individual interests, while a small table between the beds featured framed photos of the three of us from happier times. "This room is just for you two," Susan explained. "I want you to feel like this is your special place whenever you visit." While the twins explored their room, Susan pulled me aside. "How are you holding up?" "Martha called me yesterday full of justifications about why she sent the children home early." "What did she say?" I asked, curious despite myself. "The usual Martha nonsense, that you're too sensitive, that the children don't appreciate what they have, that Heather needs more support because she's a new mother." Susan rolled her eyes. "I reminded her that you were a new mother to twins with minimal help from her, but she conveniently doesn't remember that." "Thank you for defending us," I said, touched by her loyalty. "And thank you for all of this. It means more than you know." "Families should lift each other up, not tear each other down," Susan said simply. "Now I believe I promised your children presents, and I always keep my promises." Susan's gifts were thoughtfully chosen an advanced art set for Lily, complete with professional quality colored pencils and a leather-bound sketchbook, and a deluxe tackle box for Logan, with lures he'd been coveting for months. But the most meaningful gift was the one she gave them together, a large scrapbook titled Our Lake House Adventures, with blank pages ready to be filled with memories. "We'll take lots of pictures this weekend," Susan promised, "and you can help me decide which ones to include. This will be your special book that stays here, so whenever you visit you can add new memories." That evening, we built a campfire near the water's edge and made s'mores as the sun set over the lake. The twins, Sticky with marshmallow and chocolate, listened intently as Susan and I shared stories from our own childhoods. When your mom was about your age, Susan told them she built an entire fort in the woods behind our childhood home. All by herself, no help from adults. It was so well constructed that it lasted 3 summers. "You did?" Logan asked me, clearly impressed by this revelation. "I did," I confirmed. "I needed a place that was just mine where I could read and draw and think." "Because Grandma and Grandpa were mean to you too?" Lily asked perceptively. I hesitated, not wanting to poison their relationship with my parents entirely. "They weren't always as attentive as I needed them to be," I said carefully. "But that's why I learned to be independent and resourceful, which helped me become the mother I am today." "And you're the best mom," Logan declared with 8-year-old certainty. As the fire burned down to embers, I explained the concept of chosen family to the twins. Sometimes I told them the people we're related to by blood aren't able to give us what we need, but we can create our own family circle with people who truly care about us and make us feel valued. "Like Aunt Susan," Lily suggested. "Exactly like Aunt Susan," I agreed. "And like your friends at school who are always kind to you, and your teachers who help you learn and grow, and all the people who choose to be in your life in positive ways." "Is Dad part of our chosen family?" Logan asked, his expression serious in the firelight. "Absolutely," I assured him. "Your dad loves you very much. In fact," I added with a smile, "I have a surprise for you. He's coming tomorrow with his fishing boat." Their excitement at this news confirmed I'd made the right decision in including Mark in our weekend. Whatever our issues as a couple had been, the twins needed to know they had 2 parents who put them first, even if those parents were no longer together. As I tucked them into their bunk beds that night, Lily asked sleepily, "Can we come back here instead of going to Grandma and Grandpa's?" "We can come back whenever Aunt Susan says it's okay," I promised. "And we'll find other special places too. This is just the beginning of our new adventures." Logan was already half asleep on the top bunk, but he mumbled, "This is better than Grandma's house. Nobody called us not family here." His words, simple but profound, reaffirmed my decision. Something had broken last weekend at my parents' house, but something new and stronger was being built in its place. I could feel it taking shape around us in this peaceful lake house, in the relationships we were nurturing and the traditions we were creating. My phone showed 3 missed calls from my mother, but I set it aside without returning them. Tomorrow would be soon enough to deal with the past. Tonight was for embracing our new beginning. Mark arrived early the next morning, his truck pulling a small fishing boat that had the twins bouncing with excitement. I watched from the porch as he hugged them, genuinely delighted by their enthusiasm. Whatever our differences, Mark had always been a good father when he was present. The problem had been how infrequently he chose to be present. "They look happy," Susan observed, handing me a mug of coffee as we watched the reunion. "Happier than I expected after what happened." "Kids are resilient," I replied, "especially when they feel secure, and right now they're surrounded by people who are putting them first." Mark approached the porch, the twins chattering on either side of him. "Morning, Belva. Susan, thanks for including me in this." "Thanks for coming," I said sincerely. "It means a lot to them." And to me, I realized with surprise. After a quick breakfast, we headed to the lake. Mark helped Logan with his new fishing gear, while Lily and I prepared a picnic lunch. Susan begged off the boating expedition, claiming she had important projects to work on at the house. The morning on the lake was idyllic. Mark proved to be a patient teacher, showing Logan how to cast his line and reel in properly. Lily, initially less interested in fishing, squealed with delight when she caught a small bass on her third try. "Look, Mom, I caught one," she called, her face glowing with pride. "That's bigger than your brother's," Mark told her with a wink at Logan. "You might be a natural." Logan, far from being jealous, helped his sister unhook the fish and release it back into the lake. "Good job, Lily," he said, genuinely pleased for her. "Now you're officially a fisher person." We anchored the boat in a quiet cove for our picnic lunch. As the twins ate sandwiches and shared stories about school, Mark leaned toward me. "I've been thinking a lot since you called," he said quietly, "about what kind of father I want to be, what kind of example I'm setting." "Oh," I prompted, curious about this reflective side of my ex-husband. "I haven't been as present as I should be," he admitted. "The every other weekend thing, it's convenient, but it's not enough. Not for them, and honestly, not for me either. I miss too much." "What are you suggesting?" I asked cautiously. "I'd like to be more involved. Maybe pick them up from school one day a week, take them to dinner, help with homework, and alternate weekends like we do now, but actually use that time better." I studied his face, looking for signs of the old Mark who made promises he didn't keep. Instead, I saw genuine determination. "What brought this on?" "Partly what happened with your parents," he said. "It made me realize how easily kids can feel unwanted even by family who should love them unconditionally. I never want Logan and Lily to feel that way about me." Before I could respond, Logan called out, "Dad, Mom, look at that eagle." We turned to see a bald eagle soaring overhead, its wingspan impressive against the blue sky. The moment with Mark would have to wait, but his words stayed with me throughout the afternoon. As we returned to shore, the twins sunburned and happy, I found myself open to the possibility that our co-parenting relationship might evolve into something more supportive than I dared hope. Back at the lake house, Susan had prepared a surprise. The dining table was set for a family meeting, complete with official-looking folders at each place setting. "What's all this?" Lily asked, examining her folder with curiosity. "This," I explained, "is the beginning of our family council. Please take your seats, council members." And once we were all seated, including Mark, who seemed as intrigued as the children, I opened my folder to reveal the agenda I'd prepared. "Today, we're discussing the establishment of new traditions," I announced in a formal voice that made the twins giggle. "Each council member has equal say in what traditions we adopt, and all suggestions will be considered." Mark caught on quickly. "I move that we begin with a presentation of the proposed activities," he said, matching my formal tone. "Seconded," Susan chimed in. "All in favor?" "Aye," the twins chorused, clearly enjoying the performance. I presented a calendar of monthly special activities I'd researched, from museum visits to hiking trips to community service projects. Mark suggested additions, including baseball games and science center visits. The twins, initially shy about offering ideas, gradually warmed up as they realized we were genuinely interested in their input. "Could we have a movie night every week?" Logan suggested, "with popcorn and no phones allowed?" "Excellent suggestion," I noted, adding it to our list. "Any other proposals?" "Wayne, art classes," Lily said decisively. "For all of us, not just me, so we can make things together." By the end of our meeting, we had established a framework for our new family traditions: a mix of regular activities like weekly movie nights and monthly special outings. Mark committed to specific dates on the calendar, his expressions serious as he entered them into his phone. "There's one more item," I said, reaching under the table for the gifts I'd prepared. "Special journals for each of you." I handed leather-bound notebooks to Logan and Lily, their names embossed on the covers in gold. "These are for your thoughts, feelings, ideas, anything you want to record. They're private just for you unless you choose to share something. And if you ever feel sad or confused about family stuff, you can write about it here." The twins accepted the journals reverently, already planning what they would write first. The afternoon transitioned into an art session on the porch, where Susan guided us in creating a family crest for our chosen family. The final design incorporated elements representing each of us: books and nursing symbols for me, fishing gear for Mark, art supplies for Lily, chess pieces for Logan, and the lake house for Susan. "This is who we are," I told the twins as we admired our creation, "not defined by what others think of us, but by what we mean to each other." Later, Susan shared old family photos with the twins, carefully selecting ones that showcased my childhood resilience and achievements. "Your mom built this playhouse when she was 10. She told them, showing a picture of my younger self proudly standing beside a small wooden structure. "She saved her allowance for months to buy the materials." The evening culminated in a board game championship with silly prizes: paper crowns, novelty sunglasses, small toys I'd packed as surprises. The twins laughed until they could barely breathe when Mark had to wear a tiara after losing at Monopoly. As we prepared for bed, Logan commented, "This is way better than Grandma and Grandpa's house. Can Aunt Susan be our grandma instead?" "Susan is already your great aunt," I explained. "But remember what we talked about with chosen family. She's definitely part of our inner circle." "Can we invite Jake and Emma next time?" Lily asked, referring to her best friends from school. "They would love the lake." "That's a wonderful idea," I agreed, touched by her desire to share our new tradition. "We'll add it to our family council agenda for next time." After the twins were asleep, Mark, Susan, and I sat on the porch watching the moonlight on the water. "They're going to be okay," Susan assured me. "You're giving them exactly what they need." "I hope so," I said. "I just want them to know they're valued regardless of what anyone else thinks." Mark nodded thoughtfully. "They know. Today I saw a confidence in them I haven't noticed before." "You're doing a great job, Belva." His compliment warmed me, not because I needed his validation, but because it reflected his attentiveness to our children's emotional state, something the old Mark had often missed. As we sat in companionable silence, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. My mother again, for the 5th time that day. "Are you going to answer it?" Susan asked. I shook my head. "Not tonight. Tonight is about moving forward, not looking back." Mark raised his glass in a small toast. "To moving forward. To moving forward." Susan and I echoed, our glasses clinking in the quiet night. Whatever happened when we returned home, I knew we had created something precious this weekend, a foundation of security and belonging that would help the twins weather any storm, including the inevitable confrontation with my parents that awaited us. We returned home late Sunday afternoon, the car filled with souvenirs, art projects, and the twins' excited chatter about their weekend adventures. The lake house had worked its magic, transforming hurt and confusion into confidence and joy. Even the prospect of school the next day couldn't dampen their spirits. "Can we put our family crest on the refrigerator?" Lily asked as we pulled into our driveway. "Absolutely," I agreed, already planning to have it professionally framed as well. "And can we start movie night this Friday?" Logan added. "It's on the calendar," I assured him, feeling a surge of satisfaction at their enthusiasm for our new traditions. As I turned off the engine, I noticed an unfamiliar car parked in front of our house. No, not unfamiliar. My parents' silver sedan. My stomach tightened with apprehension. "Is that Grandma and Grandpa's car?" Lily asked, her voice suddenly small. "It looks like it," I confirmed, trying to keep my tone neutral. "They must have stopped by to say hello." "Do we have to talk to them?" Logan asked, the weekend's confidence draining from his face. "You don't have to do anything you don't want to," I assured him. "I'll handle this." As we approached the front door, my parents emerged from their car. My mother looked immaculate as always, not a hair out of place despite her obvious agitation. My father hung back slightly, his expression uncomfortable. "Where have you been?" my mother demanded without preamble. "We've been calling all weekend. We were worried sick." "We went on a trip," I replied calmly, unlocking the door and ushering the twins inside. "We had a wonderful time at Susan's lake house." "Susan's lake house?" My mother's tone sharpened. "You took the children to my sister's house without telling us. I wasn't aware I needed your permission for family outings," I said, maintaining my composure with effort. The twins hovered in the doorway, reluctant to enter the fray, but equally unwilling to leave me alone. "Go unpack your bags," I told them gently. "I'll be right in." "Actually," my father interjected, "we came to talk to all of you. We have some news about next weekend." My mother's expression shifted to a practiced smile. "We've arranged for you to visit next Saturday," she announced, addressing the twins directly. "Aunt Heather is bringing baby Olivia over specifically to meet you." The twins remained silent, looking to me for guidance. "That's thoughtful," I said carefully. "But we already have plans for next weekend." "What plans?" my mother asked dismissively. "Surely you can reschedule your little trip to the grocery store or whatever it is." "We're going to a baseball game with Dad," Logan said suddenly, his voice stronger than I expected. "It's on our calendar. The family council approved it." "Family council." My father echoed confusion, evident in his tone. "You can come in for a few minutes," I offered, ignoring my father's question. "The twins need to unpack, and I'm sure they'd like to get settled after our trip." My parents followed us inside, my mother's gaze sweeping critically over the weekend bags and lake souvenirs scattered in the entryway. "What's this little vacation about?" she asked as the twins disappeared upstairs with their backpacks. "Some sort of response to last weekend's misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" I repeated the word, igniting a slow burn of anger in my chest. "Is that what you call kicking my children out early and calling another grandchild golden within their hearing?" "That's being melodramatic," my mother huffed. "We simply needed the room for Olivia. The children are old enough to understand that babies have special needs. They're also old enough to recognize when they're being treated as less important," I countered. "This is ridiculous," my mother declared. "George, tell her she's being ridiculous." My father shifted uncomfortably. "The timing was unfortunate," he conceded. "But your mother is right that Heather needed our help with Olivia. And my children needed to feel wanted and valued by their grandparents," I said quietly. Guess whose needs were ignored? Before either could respond, the twins returned downstairs, hovering uncertainly at the edge of the living room. They had changed into comfortable home clothes, but remained uncharacteristically subdued in my parents' presence. "There are my grandchildren," my mother said with forced brightness. "Did you have fun at the lake now about next weekend? Olivia is so excited to meet her cousins." "Babies can't get excited," Logan pointed out logically. "They don't even know what's happening." "It's a figure of speech, Logan," my mother said impatiently. "The point is, we've arranged a special family gathering, and you two are expected to be there." The twins looked at each other, then at me, clearly uncomfortable with the directive. "We're going to the baseball game with Dad," Lily repeated her brother's earlier statement. "It's already decided." "You can see a baseball game anytime," my mother dismissed. "This is family." "So is Dad," Logan said, a hint of defiance in his voice. "And we don't want to go somewhere we're not wanted," Lily added quietly. My mother's expression hardened. "What do you mean by that?" "Of course you're wanted." "You called Olivia your golden grandchild," Logan said directly. "We heard you, and you made us leave early because we weren't important enough to stay." "I never said that," my mother protested, though her flush suggested otherwise. "You did," Lily insisted, gaining courage from her brother's directness. "And it made us feel invisible." The raw honesty in their voices created a momentary silence in the room. My father looked genuinely troubled, while my mother seemed caught between denial and discomfort. "This is your influence," she finally said, turning to me. "You're poisoning them against us because of your own childhood issues." "Actually," I replied calmly, "I've never spoken negatively about you to the twins. They formed their own opinions based on how you treated them." "This is absurd," my mother declared. "We've been nothing but generous with them. The weekends, the gifts, the special treats." "Material things aren't the same as making someone feel valued," I explained. "The twins need to know they matter to you as individuals, not just as obligations or accessories to your grandparent identity." You're being selfish, my mother accused, keeping them from their family because of some perceived slight. No, I said firmly. I'm protecting my children from experiencing the same conditional love that shaped my childhood. I won't let them grow up feeling like they're never quite good enough. The twins had moved closer to me during this exchange, their bodies angled toward mine in a show of solidarity that touched me deeply. We don't want to go to Grandma and Grandpa's for a while, Logan stated plainly. Not until they say sorry for real, Lily added. And mean it. My mother's mouth opened and closed, seemingly at a loss for words. My father stepped forward, his expression somber. We never intended to hurt your feelings, he said to the twins, the first genuine response since their arrival. We love you both very much. But you made us leave early, Logan reminded him. You said Olivia was more important. We didn't say that exactly. My father hedged. You said she needed the room more than we did, Lily corrected. That's the same thing. My mother had recovered her composure. Children shouldn't speak to adults this way, she said stiffly. This disrespect is exactly why structure and discipline are important. They're not being disrespectful, I countered. They're expressing their feelings honestly. And if those feelings make you uncomfortable, perhaps you should examine why. The tension in the room was palpable. The twins pressed closer to me, seeking reassurance in the increasingly heated exchange. I think it's time for you to leave, I said to my parents. The twins need to get ready for school tomorrow, and we all need some space to process. This isn't over, my mother warned as she gathered her purse. You can't keep them from us. We're their grandparents. Being a grandparent is a privilege, not a right, I replied. And right now, that privilege needs to come with some boundaries. When you're ready to acknowledge how your behavior has affected the twins and make genuine amends, we can discuss visits again. My father hesitated at the door. Belva, surely we can work this out without such drastic measures. I hope so, I said sincerely. But that will depend on whether you and Mom are willing to recognize the pattern and make real changes. After they left, the three of us stood in silence for a moment. Then Logan asked, Are we in trouble for what we said? Not at all, I assured him, pulling both twins into a hug. I'm incredibly proud of you both for expressing your feelings respectfully but honestly. That takes real courage. Grandma didn't like it, Lily observed. Sometimes people don't like hearing hard truths, I explained. But that doesn't make those truths any less important to share. Is Grandma going to be mad at us forever? Logan asked, worry creeping back into his voice. I don't think so, I said thoughtfully. She's upset right now, but hopefully she'll think about what you said and understand your perspective better. Mark arrived a few minutes later as planned to hear about the weekend and say goodnight to the twins. When he learned about my parents' visit, his protective instincts flared. They showed up unannounced after what they did, he asked incredulously. That's boundary crossing 101. The twins handled it beautifully, I told him. They stood their ground without being disrespectful. Mark grinned at the children. That's my brave kids. Standing up for yourselves is an important skill. His validation meant a lot to them. I could see it in their brightening expressions. This new, more engaged version of Mark was a welcome addition to our support system. How about we get ice cream to celebrate our awesome weekend? He suggested. There's still time before bedtime routines need to start. The twins looked to me for permission, their earlier tension dissolving at the prospect of this unexpected treat. Ice cream sounds perfect, I agreed. A sweet ending to a beautiful weekend. As we piled into Mark's car for the impromptu ice cream run, I reflected on how much had changed in just 3 days. We had begun to break the generational patterns that had shaped my childhood. We had established new traditions that celebrated each family member's worth. We had created a circle of chosen family that provided the unconditional support the twins needed. There would be more difficult conversations with my parents, more boundaries to establish and defend. But watching my children enthusiastically debate ice cream flavors, their resilience already reasserting itself after the confrontation, I knew we were on the right path. Sometimes, the hardest decisions lead to the most beautiful outcomes. And sometimes, the family you choose becomes more important than the family you're born into. 3 months passed in a blur of activity and growth. the calendar on our refrigerator filled with colorful check marks as we completed each of our planned special activities. A hiking trip to Silver Falls State Park, a behind-the-scenes tour at the Oregon Zoo arranged through one of my hospital colleagues, an afternoon at the Science Museum, where Logan got to participate in a robot-building workshop. The twins flourished under our new family structure. Their teachers commented on their improved confidence and engagement at school. Logan, always academically strong, but sometimes reluctant to participate in class discussions, began raising his hand more frequently. Lily, who had struggled with separation anxiety after the divorce, now approached new situations with enthusiasm rather than trepidation. My parents' reaction to our boundary setting evolved in stages. Initially, there were angry phone calls and guilt-inducing text messages. "I suppose we'll have to cancel Christmas since you've decided we're toxic," my mother wrote in one particularly dramatic moment. I maintained a calm, consistent response. The twins needed time and genuine acknowledgement of their feelings before resuming visits. After about a month of this approach yielding no results, my parents shifted tactics. My mother sent elaborate gifts to the twins, far more expensive than their usual presents, with notes emphasizing how much they were missed at Grandma's house. I allowed the children to keep the gifts, but had honest conversations about the difference between genuine amends and attempts to buy forgiveness. "It's like when Logan broke my art set last year," Lily observed with surprising insight. "He said sorry, but I knew he didn't mean it until he helped me clean up and promised to be more careful. Grandma's sending presents, but not really saying sorry." And 6 weeks after our confrontation, my mother called with an unexpected request. "I've been thinking about what you said," she began, her voice lacking its usual assertiveness, "about the twins feeling unwanted and how that might relate to your own childhood experiences." I remained silent, giving her space to continue. "I'd like to apologize to them," she said finally. "Not over the phone, in person. But I understand if they're not ready to see me yet." Her humility surprised me. "I appreciate that, Mom. But you're right. They might not be ready for an in-person meeting yet. Perhaps we could start with family therapy." There was a long pause. Therapy. The distaste in her voice was evident. "Is that really necessary?" "I think it would help," I said firmly. "It would give everyone a safe space to express their feelings with a neutral mediator present." "Your father won't like that idea," she hedged. "Then I'll come alone," I offered, just to start the process. To my surprise, my mother agreed. Her willingness to consider therapy something she had dismissed as self-indulgent nonsense throughout my childhood signaled a shift I hadn't dared hope for. Our first session with Dr. Abigail Torres revealed aspects of my mother's experience I'd never fully understood. She spoke of her own mother's coldness, of growing up feeling that love was conditional on achievement of the pressure she felt to present a perfect family image to the world. "I never wanted to hurt the children," she admitted with uncharacteristic vulnerability. "Or you, Belva. I don't know how to do this differently. I'm repeating what I know." 3 therapy sessions later, my father reluctantly joined us. His initial defensiveness gradually gave way to recognition of the patterns he had enabled throughout our family history. "I always thought keeping the peace was the most important thing," he confessed during our 5th session. "I never considered that the peace I was preserving came at your expense, Belva, or the twins." After 2 months of weekly therapy, Dr. Torres suggested a supervised visit with the twins in her office. I discussed it with Logan and Lily first, making it clear they could decline if they weren't ready. "Will you be there too?" Lily asked. "The whole time, I promised. And Dr. Torres as well." "Can we leave if it gets bad?" Logan wanted to know. "Absolutely," I assured him. "This is completely on your terms." They agreed to a 30-minute meeting, their curiosity about their grandparents' therapy journey, overcoming their lingering hurt. Mark offered to wait in the reception area as additional support, another example of his continued commitment to being more present in the twins' lives. The supervised visit was awkward but productive. My mother, coached by Dr. Torres, offered a genuine apology that acknowledged specific hurtful actions rather than making excuses. My father expressed regret for not standing up for the twins when they were asked to leave early. Both committed to treating all their grandchildren with equal consideration and respect going forward. The twins listened solemnly, asking occasional clarifying questions that revealed their emotional intelligence. "How will things be different with Olivia around?" Logan inquired. "She's still the baby." "Olivia does need age-appropriate care," my mother acknowledged. "But that doesn't mean you need to be excluded or treated as less important. We can make space for everyone." "Actions speak louder than words," Lily said, repeating one of my frequent sayings. "We need to see it, not just hear about it." "You're absolutely right," my father agreed, seeming impressed by her articulation. "We'll need to prove ourselves through consistent behavior." The meeting ended with tentative plans for another supervised visit, this time at a neutral location like a park or restaurant. The twins were cautiously optimistic on the drive home, processing the experience in their own ways. "Grandma looked different," Lily observed. "Less perfect." "She wasn't wearing as much makeup," I explained, "and I think she's been getting less sleep since all this started." "Grandpa said he was sorry first," Logan noted. "He seemed like he really meant it." Their perceptiveness continued to amaze me. They noticed nuances in my parents' behavior that even I sometimes missed their observations, unfiltered by decades of complex history. 2 weeks later, we arranged to meet my parents and Heather with baby Olivia at a family restaurant. This would be the twins' first interaction with their cousin, and I was anxious about how the dynamic would unfold. Heather, to my surprise, had been working through her own revelations about our family patterns. "Mom told me about the therapy," she confided when we had a moment alone at the restaurant. "It made me think about how I might have benefited from the favoritism without realizing what it cost you." "I'm sorry, Belva." Her apology, unexpected and seemingly sincere, helped ease a tension between us that had existed since childhood. As we watched the twins cautiously approach the baby carrier, where 3-month-old Olivia lay, I felt a tentative hope that the next generation might escape the dysfunctional patterns that had shaped our youth. "She's so tiny," Lily whispered gently, touching Olivia's hand. "You were even smaller when you were born," I told her. "Both of you were being twins." "Was I ever that small?" Logan asked my father, creating an opening for connection. "You sure were," my father replied, seizing the opportunity. "Would you like to see some pictures? I have an album in the car that your grandmother put together when you were babies." As my father and Logan went to retrieve the photo album, I noticed my mother watching Lily with Olivia, her expression softening in a way I rarely witnessed. "Lily has a natural way with babies," she commented. "Just like you did at her age, Belva. Do you remember how you used to help with the neighbors' children?" The fact that she remembered this detail from my childhood, much less mentioned it positively, felt significant. "I do," I replied. "It's partly why I became a pediatric nurse." "You were always good at nurturing," she said quietly. I should have acknowledged that more. These small moments of recognition, though long overdue, began to stitch together a new relationship fabric, not perfect or completely healed, but evolving in a healthier direction. At our next family council meeting, Mark and I presented the twins with a question. Would they like to include their grandparents in one of our upcoming special weekend activities? The choice was entirely theirs, with no pressure either way. After serious deliberation, they decided to invite my parents to join us for a day trip to the coast the following month. "But not overnight," Logan specified, "just for the beach and dinner." "And Aunt Susan should still come," Lily added, loyal to the great aunt who had shown them such consistent support. "That sounds like an excellent plan," I agreed, proud of their willingness to extend a cautious olive branch. As we prepared for this important step in our family healing journey, I reflected on how much had changed since that painful Sunday, when my parents had asked us to leave early for the golden grandchild. The hurt had catalyzed a transformation that might otherwise have taken years to achieve, or might never have happened at all. My promotion at work to unit coordinator, partly due to the increased confidence I'd gained through standing up for my children, had brought better hours and slightly higher pay. Mark had maintained his commitment to greater involvement, not missing a single promised visit or activity in 3 months, a record for him since the divorce. And Susan had become a regular presence in our lives, often joining us for Sunday dinners and offering her lake house for future visits. Most importantly, the twins had blossomed. Their resilience, once tested by divorce and family tension, now strengthened by honest communication and consistent support. They had learned that standing up for themselves didn't mean losing relationships. It meant transforming them into healthier connections. The night before our coastal day trip with my parents, I found Logan writing intently in his journal, the leather-bound book now filled with 3 months of reflections and observations. "What are you writing about tonight?" I asked, sitting beside him on his bed. "About tomorrow," he replied, not looking up from his page. "About giving Grandma and Grandpa another chance." "Are you nervous?" I inquired gently. He considered the question seriously. "A little, but not scared like before. I know what to do if they start acting like they used to." "What's that?" I asked, curious about his strategy. "Tell them how it makes me feel," he said simply. "And if that doesn't work, tell you or Dad. We don't have to stay in bad situations anymore." His confidence in this knowledge, that he had agency, that his feelings mattered, that adults would protect him, was perhaps the most significant victory of the past 3 months. "That's exactly right," I assured him, kissing the top of his head. "Your feelings always matter." As I tucked him in, he asked the question that had been on my mind as well. "Do you think Grandma and Grandpa have really changed?" I considered my answer carefully. "I think they're trying to change, which is an important first step. Some habits and patterns take a long time to break, especially when they've been in place for generations. But the fact that they're willing to try gives me hope." "Me too," he said sleepily. "Lily and I talked about it. We're going to give them a second chance, but not a third one." The wisdom in his 8-year-old declaration made me smile. That sounds like a very reasonable approach. The coastal trip the next day wasn't perfect. There were awkward moments, old tensions that briefly surfaced, habitual patterns that needed real-time correction. But there were also breakthrough moments. My father teaching Logan how to fly a kite with genuine patience. My mother asking Lily about her artwork with specific questions that showed actual interest. Both grandparents making visible efforts to give equal attention to both twins. As we walked along the shore, collecting shells and watching seagulls dive into the waves, Susan fell into step beside me. "You've done something remarkable here," she observed. "I never thought I'd see Martha actually listening to children's opinions." "It's still a work in progress," I cautioned. "All families are," Susan replied wisely. "But breaking these patterns takes tremendous courage. You could have just accepted the status quo, kept enduring the favoritism, let your children learn the same painful lessons you did. Instead, you disrupted the cycle." Looking ahead at my children running along the beach, their laughter carrying on the sea breeze, I felt a profound sense of peace. The family gathering wasn't perfect, but it was authentic. Real people making real efforts to connect better, to heal old wounds, to create something healthier for the next generation. Perhaps that was the most important lesson in this journey. Perfect families don't exist, but families willing to acknowledge their dysfunctions, face them honestly, and work together toward healing. Those families have a chance at genuine happiness. Not the superficial photo-ready happiness my mother had always prioritized, but the deeper joy that comes from being truly seen, heard, and valued. As the sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, the twins gathered our extended family for a group photo. My parents, Susan, Mark, and me, with Logan and Lily in the center. The picture would never grace a magazine cover or win awards for perfect family imagery. My mother's hair was windblown, my father's smile slightly stiff. Mark and I standing somewhat awkwardly on opposite sides of the group. But it was real. It was honest. And it captured a moment of genuine effort and connection that would have seemed impossible just 3 months earlier. "Everyone say chosen family," Lily instructed as she set the camera timer and ran back to join us. "Chosen family." We chorused the words, carrying more meaning than a simple photo caption. In that moment, watching the camera flash capture our imperfect but genuine attempt at healing, I realized that the painful incident 3 months ago had ultimately been a gift. It had forced us to confront patterns too long ignored and to create something better, not just for the twins, but for all of us. Some families are born, others are made. The strongest are those that choose each other again and again, even through difficulty and hurt, committed to growing together towards something healthier and more authentic than what came before. Have you ever had to create boundaries with family members to protect yourself or your children? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. Each family's journey is unique, but we can learn so much from sharing our stories. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear this message today. Remember, sometimes the hardest choices lead to the most beautiful new beginnings. Thank you for being part of our chosen family here, and I wish you strength and healing on your own journey.